game, so I had to pick a safe one, or what I think is a safe one here this time around. But yeah, let's get it started here on Lightshade, starting in the bottom right-hand side of the map. The red Protoss, DnS.
In the top left for Team Liquid, the blue Terran, Clem.
And DnS, I've talked before about how at times I feel like, you know, he's maybe not throwing in enough cheeses. While he's capable of that, I hope that he's at least gonna try early for like 1 or 2, or at least, you know, some heavy aggression, some glaive build, something like that. Because if he just sits back and tries to macro, I think we're gonna see a repeat of what we saw from Hero Marine against Lambo in the games where he was just pressuring a lot and slowly achieving more and more damage up until the point that, you know, Lambo had to roll over and fall. I really think this is what it's gonna look like here for DnS.
Yeah, can't disagree. I think there's gonna have to be some form of trickery involved. To be fair, some of the victories that Gongfu got were off of actually just very solid play. So that's not impossible. It's not impossible to win against Clem in a couple of maps of very solid play, but it is pretty rare. He's really tightened up his TVP. He doesn't really falter against any weirdness or cheeses since he plays max packs a decent amount in those open cups. And for this match specifically, it's been about, so let's see here, it's been a year and a couple of months since DnS has actually taken a series. And in that year, he's only taken 2 maps. So, that's that's out of like 15 series. So it's Clem gonna be feeling super confident, knowing that he is probably, the better player, and then executing his skill like he knows he can. So macro, macro, macro from him.
Yeah, this would be a good time for DnS to just play really well, and this is really what he's shown so far this tournament. Probably the biggest surprise here, I think, in these playoffs, to be one of the top 2 finishers in his group. And he's had time to prepare as well against the Clem, who there is a lot of stuff to study from him, I think, online in terms of VODs and how he plays against Protoss in particular. But you can't really hard counter this guy, you know. It's just going to be solid mechanics. He's not going to take big risks. He'll just go into a third base, macro really well, pressure really well. And usually it's those first 2 attacks by him are the ones that even great players will take too much damage and even die from.
That's exactly correct. Some of those first engagements are supposed to kind of test the waters. Okay, can't do very much. And for Clem, he oftentimes takes victories or like straight up game deciding moments, even with the first push. So it's really scary. But I will say that we've seen a couple of Protosses actually survive the first 2 or 3 pushes. And then Clem, I don't think is as much of a just unique player. He doesn't excel more than a lot of other people. I feel like in the late game, I am most impressed with his early and mid-game decisions and micro. So if DnS can survive, then I feel like he's got actually more of a chance in the late game, which, you know, I wouldn't say the same thing for Serral, for instance. If you survived Serral's first 10 minutes, it'll be like, yeah, you're pretty screwed in ZVP. Yeah. But actually, I'll give DnS a chance there.
Yeah, he really needs to shut down every attack that comes his way, and he knows that there's going to be stuff like, you know, some drops here and there, maybe some Widowmine drops a lot of the time. So he opens Phoenix, which I really like. You can really shut down some of these drops really well. But Clem, because he hasn't been able to scout anything and he knows about that potential, he's mixing in a Raven up first here, where you just want to build up a lot of energy, then go for an attack, disable whatever big units your opponent could have. And if he doesn't have, you know, something like an Immortal or a Colossus, then instead use Anti-Armor Missile. And then you fight all the same and try and do a lot of damage with that fight, which, like I said, usually Clem, we've seen him just absolutely destroy great players with this first attack, at which he's so good at.
Well, he's seeing at least a third base being taken now, or presumably so, but that's about as much scouting as he's been able to get. You might have also seen the Warp Gate timing. I'm not 100% certain on that, and you do delay Warp Gate to get a quick Stargate, but yeah, I'm not 100% certain there. The Phoenixes, I guess we have to assume, are, you know, they've been unscouted. Maybe knows about the Stargate. Oracle would have flown over right now. Phoenixes, are actually chilling, gathering in numbers, and then looking to do some pressure. And it is right into the robotics bay, which is one of two options really from Phoenix. It's the Phoenix Colossus or it's the Phoenix Charge. Phoenix Colossus, a little more of that macro defensive game, and that's what DnS is setting up for.
Yeah, we had only one Raven made. Sometimes we'll see some Terrans make more, but one is still very solid because you get it so early, like immediately got it when the starport got onto that tech lab. So it's going to build up on energy for a very long time. Then when you attack, if you can have full energy to work with, it's super scary an attack to actually go for. You have to be careful not to lose that Raven beforehand, though, because Phoenixes, they can be really dangerous. If they can catch that Raven, that would be a super big snipe for DnS. And Clem, I think he's just going to wait for some medivacs, and then he can start moving out and going towards the third base with however many tanks he's going to have, which might be 2 or 3.
Yeah, probably around 3. Yeah. The Phoenixes still haven't shown themselves. Finally, they're moving out. So a count of 6 Phoenix that Clem is not really expecting could definitely grab the Raven if he doesn't know to control it perfectly right and totally be on top of it. Or they could grab even a tank.
That observer is really sick. He saw the move out, and he was able to size up the army. This is always so important. Oh my god, the Phoenix, he gets the Raven! Yeah. Oh, this is huge. Because that had so much energy as well, and now he sees the exact size of the army, so he can cut probes. Like right now, his priority should be to get as many units as possible. Probes on the third base were not mining for a second. DnS starting to misclick a little bit, panicking, because he sees this huge move out. The Phoenixes are still very dangerous. If he could buy time here, that'd be amazing, but the fact that there is no interference matrix is huge in DNS's favor, but he only now started the thermal lens.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit riskier for those Colossus to take engagements against the tanks, against the Marauders. There simply isn't a lot protecting those Colossus either, unless the Phoenix actually start picking up a lot of units. DnS actually pops the overcharge on the shield battery, which means it won't be available in the natural or at the third for the next attack. And I think Clem is feeling pretty confident despite losing that Raven. I feel like with the Raven, he would have already won, you know? Like, it's that extreme of a difference. But without it, maybe DnS has a chance. He's going to move in. The 2 Colossus trying their best to actually kill these Marauders. Finally, they go down, but still so many Marines left and both tanks alive. Here comes the third. DnS not going to break it with that attack, but maybe with charge. He's not going to wait for it, actually. He's going to try and go in again, but is that really the right call?
He didn't pick up the tanks for some reason the first time he engaged. DnS has been taking too much damage the whole time. It's, as always, Clem with his first big proper move outs wins the game.
That was not the ending that DnS wanted there. He actually shook his head on camera. I think he was really disappointed in himself because he actually had a pretty good game. You know, his technology went unscouted. Even if there was suspicion of Stargate, there wasn't confirmation on the Phoenix. He gets an instant snipe on the Raven, and as far as I could tell, his build order was going rather swimmingly. Their Nexus came down when it wanted to. Didn't get supply blocked really that I saw. Maybe he was late to charge is the only thing I can think of, as you do get charge. You don't get blink when you have those Phoenix, right? So you can go right into that charge. But yeah, I think he just was disappointed in how he handled the push. And maybe it was the nerfs, actually. You kind of brought it up. He started to like mishandle his probes a little bit, so needs to shake that off and get back in the correct mindset for game 2.
Yeah, usually here, like if you would know what the opponent's doing for a fact, and that he's staying on 2 bases for as long as he's staying on it and then going for a timing, you probably want to cut Phoenixes a bit earlier and just get a lot of units out. Just go up to 5, 6 gates, pump out units, even without charge. Like, you just need pure units. You just need to hold that attack somehow. But he might have made a few probes too many, gateways too late. He just felt like the army wasn't there. And there was a lot of poor movement as well. And that's also credit to Clem, because he sieged the tanks not too close, but also exactly in range to pressure the wall at the expansion where the robo was, which forced DnS to engage immediately. If DnS just sits back and loses the robo, it's a disaster. So he had to go for the fight much earlier than he wanted. I was looking at the production tab. I was like, okay, thermal lens and charge are so far away. They're never going to be ready on time. And then, yeah, he just fought a little poorly. He didn't pick up the tanks. And against Clem, any one of those mistakes can make you lose the game.
Yeah, it's a really difficult position for the Protoss. They kind of want to get like a little bit of an engagement going with the Colossus, you know, advantage when the tanks aren't sieged and the bio isn't like quite ready, just to buy like seconds, you know? And then they want to try and hold out as long as possible when the tanks are sieged to get to charge, which kind of negates the tanks in a fashion, and of course just does well as fodder. But DnS didn't really get any of those important steps done, didn't get to the most important upgrade, and loses the first game. In the bottom right, already sending out a second SCV, he is the blue Terran, Clem.
His opponent in the red playing Protoss is DnS. It was a well-concealed build last game, but I think Clem was still able to kind of realize what was happening, and he adapted really well. You know, if he had scouted what he saw and then gone for a Widowmine drop, that probably would have been pretty bad because Phoenixes were ready for the defense on the other side. So, you know, DnS tried to counter what he thought was maybe going to head his way, and didn't work out at all. Now we got a proxy Rax out on the map from Clem.
Yep. Not just the one SCV for a supply depot, but the second one was actually sent out. I mean, guys, so that it was so fast, I figured it was going to be a proxy barracks. We also have seen a rise of NG Bay blocks, which I'm actually positive will happen if we have all 5 games. But with the potential of only 3 games happening, well, maybe it'll just only be this one proxy. We'll see how successful it is, and actually, even better, what follows this up, because that is the trick. That's what DnS might have trouble actually figuring out. Although Clem, very decisive, just proxies the factory as well, which DnS could actually scout. He could get back up in there and see that the factory's still not at home. Means only one thing. It's out in the map somewhere.
Yeah, he's checking right now if it's like one of those fakes that we've seen very often, where you just hide a building near your base and you try to pretend it's like elsewhere on the map. Not seeing the barracks around is going to make him realize that there is actually a legit proxy happening on the other side, and he's going to be under attack in a few moments. You have to play with so much lack of information here, so you just have to guess a lot, you know, what could be, or what is exactly happening. And he's chrono boosting out a Stalker, which I like, but he still did go for that Nexus.
Oh, I don't think he's actually headed towards the right location. Oh, no!
Oh my
so
God.
Close. Oh, no, it's so painful. Because he didn't get the follow-up scout. He didn't go back in to see the lack of factory, because he was scouting, as you were saying, like trying to look for that barracks. So he has no idea that the factory is going to produce Hellions so close to him. He doesn't know if there's a command center back at home either, because Clem actually even sent his Marine back home. DnS has just got question marks, man. Like, he has no idea what's happening. Where's the Reaper? Where's the factory? Is it entirely one base? It is. That's not usually what's happening nowadays in TVP, but Clem's trying to mix it up. Does kind of get scouted at the last second, but there's no wall, so Hellions, do your thing.
Yeah, he can block off the ramp with 2 units and just kind of chase those aliens with the Stalker that he has there. But the problem is that when the Medivac gets there, then it's gonna drop. Like, there's even that blind spot in the main base of DnS. I'm worried that's where the drop happens, and it just doesn't see that on time. Now we got Widow Mines. So now Clem is doing the build that DnS probably wishes he would have faced last game, because he had Phoenixes perfect for the defense against this. And now he's only on, what, 2 Stalkers with a 3rd one on the way. Starts blink. He gets the pylon in the corner of his base. Okay, DnS, I think he's well aware this could be happening. He's even leaving the probe up there. He knows that a Medivac could fly from all the way up there, and that will allow him to spot this on time to react really well. So he's guessing correctly right now.
Of course, that armory means that the Widow Mines are going to be cloaked if they burrow, and it's, you know, guaranteed at least 3 of the 4 will burrow, if not all 4 of them. So there we go. They boost into the main, going to unload and going to deny a heck of a lot of mining time. Shouldn't really get any big kills, but with the Robo having recently started, this is going to take a while to clean up, and DnS is going to try looking for a 4-gate after everything's cleaned up, but it's going to be a while. Hellions even come in and actually try and take on the probes that were pulled away from the Widow Mines. If there are 3 Hellions, that could have been much different, but with only 2, it's not so bad for DnS. It just takes so long to clean up.
Yeah, there's Widow Mines everywhere right now. DnS is walking inside of a minefield in his own base. There's so many of them around the expo. Oh my God.
Oh no. Oh my goodness. And the Observer could be making, he just got enough gas for it. That was actually the main problem, because he had pulled away so often, I guess, from the main base.
Oh no.
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. DnS, remember, DnS, no, no. Oh God.
Oh my goodness. He just lost 16 probes. And he cannot even really mine from the main base right now either. That Observer finally comes out, but it's going to take a while. The Stalker's even blocking each other. Oh, the Widow Mine almost shot. And in the meantime, Clem, you can fully expect he's going to go into an expansion. He's got a Raven already that was made. He's pumping out Marines. He's not going to relax on his lead here or make any macro mistakes.
The only thing that would really kill him is that if he wasn't back at home producing, if he was still, I don't know, playing around, I guess, like not taking this seriously, then maybe he doesn't have enough to stop this kind of 4-gate follow-up, which it is, yes, a 4-gate follow-up, but I say kind of because it's so limited in power. There's been so much denied mining, so many probes lost, that the 4-gate, as we know it, it's too strong of a term for this one, you know? Like, it's just not going to be as successful. Clem should be prepared. It's maybe a chance before the tank is out, but it's quickly leaving. Tank's almost here.
Yeah, if you're DNS here, you're thinking, like, you're behind. You want to do damage at any cost. So, but yeah, there's the bunker there. Clem knows about the blink potential inside of the main base, so he's going to stay with a lot of units at the ramp, ready to go into the high ground. He even puts, look how he puts the tank. Even starts building a wall a little bit with that depot at the front to make it harder for stalkers to come in. DNS, he might overcome it here. He's not making anything right now. He stopped making probes. He's getting an additional pylon. He jumps on top of the bunker.
Even that takes a couple more shots than he would like to kill, because Clem was aware of the possibility. He actually pulled a couple of SCVs. So even the damage taken on the stalkers is a big deal, because unlike a usual 4-gate, he's not really replenishing it as fast. And he also can't take any big advantages behind it either. Like, if you're doing just enough damage, maybe you can expand, maybe you can get a couple technologies. In this game, it's like you really are all in. You're either making a bunch of stalkers or not much else going on. So if the stalkers don't cut it, they're not going to cut it in the mid game, that's for sure, when all the upgrades are done for the bio.
Yeah, Clem has 2 tanks already. The third one's about to come out. They're beautifully placed to help and defend wherever DNS would go. Observer will barely escape. That was well done. He wrecked it just on time. Stalker's going again, but they really can't achieve much when that tank keeps on shooting at them and doing a lot of damage. And now he's kind of going to be stuck on like this massive Stalker army, which is just not effective and becomes worse and worse as Terran starts to build up towards critical mass.
This is not the worst situation, as Clem did not have combat shields as well and did not have an engineering bay. So like there's situations in the more typical opener where stim, combat shields, and +1 all finish, and then the stalkers really have no chance. But really all the bio needs is that stim to dominate the stalkers. I love that DNS is still trying. He manages to actually evacuate with the stalkers in the warp prism, just shy of getting interference matrix. And he was trying in the natural as well, but it's now time for Clem to shine. He's got a lot of bio, only stim, but that I think is going to be enough, as DNS has got nothing. Just stalkers, gonna try and pump out an immortal, but charge will not finish by then. And he still is only just now getting his 3rd nexus.
Yeah, the positioning of that robo always forward like this around the expansion also forces him to fight immediately when he really shouldn't want to. So Clem, his first big move out, and I feel like we might have a repeat from game 1 here, as he just has so much army. 68 to 44, combat shield about to finish. He might not even need that. I mean, he has tanks, marauders, marines, and medivacs as well.
I'm not sure that he does, and he thinks so as well. The Colossus is not going to make its way out. The Robo is going to fall. Not even any shield batteries to try and overcharge. That Warp Prism isn't ferrying storms. It's just carrying some stalkers, and that is it. Clem takes the 2-0. In vastly different games, this one he really mixed things up, but it was very successful. It threw DNS so far off.
Yeah, very unfortunate for DNS that he saw the proxy. Actually, he completely missed it. He didn't even see it. He just saw the Hellions eventually. Like, you know something's being thrown at you, but you don't exactly know what. If you would see a reactored factory, you know that it's Hellions pretty much. So then you can, get better ready for it. And then the Widow Mines really did way too much damage. It just wasn't ready on time. That robo forward at the expo, I'm not sure about this one. Maybe it shouldn't be part of the world, but it feels like he was already behind anyway. And difficult series. I feel as a previous Protoss competitor, I feel the pain here for DNS, because I've had series like this also where I'm like, how do you beat this guy?
It's a tough question. He beat you in a macro game. He beat you with a couple of proxied buildings. So what do you do for game 3, your last life? We're going to find out right after this break. DNS finds himself on his last life in the upper bracket. We're moving on to 2,000 atmospheres for game 3, and Clem just looks dominant. Good macro first game, great cheese second game. What he has in store for the third game, DNS is probably the one that's going to have to find out, because he's all over the place, man. DNS can't get a word in.
It seems like Clem, a lot of things are going his way in terms of build order, and not so much for DNS here so far. Let's see if he can do better. Starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map, playing as the red Protoss, is DNS.
Well, maybe DNS is going to mix things up. He went for a 12 pylon. In the top right, as the blue Terran, he is Liquid Clem.
What are you thinking here, Jest?
Well, a lot of the time I've seen 12 pylon, it's with max packs, and it is into the proxy Stargate, which has been a weakness of Clem in the past. And honestly, despite Terrans having, I think, a consensus on how to defeat it in a ideal scenario, the fact is that the proxy Stargate never is ideal. Like, no one likes playing against it. So if that's what DNS is trying to do, I respect it. But Clem does have a lot of experience against it. Doesn't have to be that, though. It could just be something earlier on, still aggressive. That early pylon, early gateway, early 7X core, earlier technology, right? So yeah, we're waiting.
And Clem, I mentioned the builds kind of went his way, but it's not like he was doing like, super crazy builds that get countered easily. Like even the proxy, as long as you know how to play solidly behind it, you're always going to be fine. Same thing with the build he did in game 1, just opening with the Raven. He was also reacting to what he saw in game 1. Like as much as game 2, he threw in a proxy, and he was like, well, I'm going to do that no matter what I see from DNS. Game 1 was just really solid. So he goes for the CC now, and he's playing it safe. SCV Scout into Reaper Scout. Sees the pylon on the expansion.
Yep, that's actually normal stuff here. Depth's going to come out pretty darn quick, sure, and the bunker's definitely not going to get up here. But no second probe was sent out right, no really fast second gas, so no chance for that proxy Stargate. I still would have respected it, but it is just going to be the earlier gateway units. The Adept's going to be chronoed out with a second Adept, looking to pile on a bit of pressure. It might seem like, why bother? The bunker is clearly going to go down. That is the meta of TDP. But, the beautiful thing about Shades is that they can shade past a bunker and still complicate matters for a Terran who's still on very low amount of units.
Okay, Clem adding the second gas now. And he could just end up playing the same way that we saw in game 1. Yeah, just go for the Raven. It's such a solid style, I find. Like, I can't really think of too many builds that you would be happy to go for when you're facing that. Maybe like, I think the secret is just taking the third base and getting enough units to defend the first big attacks that's gonna head your way. Or like, I guess before that, if you were to be harassed by a smaller aggression. Like before you can even think about beating Clem, you have to defend his first few attacks. That's really what you need to be focused on.
If you can somehow get damage done to Clem, though, delay that early attack, then maybe that is what DNS is thinking, right? But so far, not really getting what he wants, did not deny or delay the natural command center, hasn't done any damage. 3 Adepts are fearsome, but I think Clem figured it out with the SCV Scout and the multiple Chronos, so he's not stopping his Hellion production, which should contribute enough with the Marines to take care of this.
So he actually lets the Shade go through, and there's going to be some SCVs dying here. DNS, can he actually get out with maybe one of the Adepts? Second one falls, the third one's taking a lot of damage. And he actually gets out with very little hit points here. After killing 4 SCVs, didn't quite get the mule. But that's damage. He's 10 walkers ahead now. DNS building up a little bit of momentum for himself in this game.
A little bit. Reaper gets a little bit of revenge, so it is 2 probes for 4 SCVs, and all of the Adepts will die. But yeah, it's certainly better than absolutely nothing. And now Clem is going to really show off his micro with a little Marine drop. I shouldn't be scared. It's just a tiny little Marine drop, Todd. But I also got Hellions at the front, and it is Clem.
It's a Clem Marine drop. It's not a regular Marine drop. These guys are like rabid dogs, ready to kill some probes. And DNS doesn't have Blink yet. Oh, this is going to hit just before Blink finishes. He's actually going to start walking on the wall instead, which DNS may have been counting on to buy him a little bit of time. If that gateway gets cancelled, though, That's the third gate, which you need here if you're DNS to build up the stalker count more.
Yeah, tough decisions are kind of being made there.
10 seconds to blink.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Clem might know that the timer is on the way. Of course, he sees so many stalkers. It's got to be that blink build. And it definitely is. The blink stalkers chase, but the medevac seems like it will be able to escape. Clem does not get to show off his micro. That was a successful defense. It could have maybe been a little bit more awkward, but DNS handles it very well.
He rewalled with another gate. He needs to add more gates, though. He's only on 2. And I don't think he's supposed to let this one finish, because then that's a perfect wall. Which I don't think you want, because you need to make probes that you're going to transfer to the third base. But we got a prism on the way. That's...
You might...
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 3 gateways in total, right? With the third gate just having finished.
Oh, he canceled the third gate.
Yeah, you're right. You just canceled it. Yep. Okay, then. So not very much is going to be coming with this warp prism, but it is an opportunity for some harassment.
Yeah, DnS, okay, he's transferring probes to the third base finally. So his mineral economy is going to be amazing. He's only on 2 gases. I want to say it's time to make like 6 extra gates or something, and then just like zealot flood the prism. But he's still warping in stalkers here for now. Forge going down. It's getting charged. Gateway explosion has to happen soon.
You know, I wouldn't mind that style of play, but he is grabbing a forge, so I might still stick on charge and blink for some time. It's not going to be like the, I guess, Zound made it popular, right? The pure gateway all in. The stalker harassment actually doesn't go super well, losing some stalkers, and those Hellions get back in. There wasn't a wall, but there's also a medevac, so it was inevitable. 8 probes have already gone down. DNS's main base is pretty unprotected. Finally takes down at least 2 of those Hellions. And that should be it for the harassment, but 12, 13, 13 probes go down and the medevac leaves, and your stalker attack didn't really do very much. That wasn't very pretty for DNS at all.
And it's so easy for Clem to know what's happening here as well. He saw the Twilight Council still researching something after Blink was already made, so he saw the amount of gateways, or he saw most of them at least. So he knows it's just going to be a lot of zealots. So all he has to do is make sure he's ready to defend at home against a prism and a lot of zealots, and he might turtle for a little bit up until he has critical mass, and then attack before there will be the proper AoE to help DNS deal with this big Terran army, which might already be the case. Like Clem is already ahead in supply because he's been getting the better end of every fight. On the other side of the map, dealt damage. On his side, killed stalkers, barely lost anything.
That's just a little too good. DNS is trying his best to at least grab a medevac, but then just, I mean, it turns around on him. He gets pounced upon, he loses his stalkers. The warp prism in the main doesn't seem like it's really going to do a whole lot. I was hoping to distract the very, very perfect second, and it really didn't. DNS does have a lot of gateways finished, so a lot of charge outs are coming in. The stalkers do come back from behind, but then once again, it's mostly just them getting slaughtered, and when they're gone, the medevacs can pick up the units and escape from the zealots. And while that was great, I guess the number of zealots is great defensively. I don't think DNS is set up for an attack still. I mean, he's got +1, only 70% done, and his economy has been hit pretty hard a couple of times. So I want to believe in this like counter with the charge lots. I think that would be such a cool idea. The numbers aren't there.
Yeah, there's actually a Widowmine that was left there. But, I wonder if DNS will fly in. I guess he's waiting to see the army move out, which he now sees with an observer. That's about to be scanned, I think. Perhaps Clem saw this. You know, DNS in this tournament, by the way, like if you look at this series, you're like, how did this guy make it to the playoffs? Maybe, you know, you might be thinking that. But the thing is, he finished second in a group behind Raynor, where Goblin, Euthermal, Marine Lord, Denver, Strange, and Cass finished behind DNS. So he was playing amazing. He's been playing amazing. It's just that Clem is on another level right now.
That pretty much sums it up. Clem is on another level. I think DNS, had he not taken, so much probe damage, could have been in a very good situation to engage that army and then counter. But without it, without the probes, without the economy, DNS is just kind of, again, in a bit of a holding on scenario. It's like, great, you're alive. Technically, you did defend that first push, but that wasn't even really the scariest push that's going to happen. Clem's coming through here, 3-base saturation, bringing some Liberators, bringing all of his Marauders, and DNS is still only on gateway units. Initially, that's okay, but either they best be massively upgraded, which they're not, or you need to have some splash here. DNS is have to depend on some stack defense, perhaps. He does have 1 shield battery, but it's pretty far away. And also depend maybe on Clem's Widowmines not to hit.
Zealots in the third base, finding some SCV kills here. And DnS actually has so many units. He's been pumping out only units. He's still on 60 workers. If he can get the defense here, that'd be great for him. Clem, he's not really kiting. I think he's looking elsewhere. There's zealots in the main base.
Well, he's maybe not dealing with the zealots too quickly. Actually, he is. The Widow Mines popped off. That's the most important thing there. DnS had such a grouped, clumped up amount of zealots that 3 Widow Mines ended up popping off. Now, the other zealot reinforcements come through, and Clem is going to have to evacuate, so it isn't just a clear-cut super victory for Clem, but it is still a victory. He's up 40 supply. He's got better upgrades in DnS. He's trying to add on Storm. I actually don't give Storm a lot of credit against a guy like Clem. He's going to dodge and weave and drop and just avoid storms.
Yeah, DnS took forever to start that +1 armor, so he was fighting just now with +1 attack against 1/1 Terran bio. He's only on 4 gases, and he's looking to be aggressive again with zealots, but that Widow Mine actually could do some friendly fire. Ouch.
A little bit. Still not finding the damage he was hoping for, and not really distracting Clem either, as Clem is ready to go. He's got a large army, good upgrades, he scans ahead. You do kind of have to just accept that the storm might be done, you know? Like, he's not going to play around with the storm here through this choke, and the storm will eventually finish. But this is when, as I was saying, he's going to drop, he's going to split up his army, and that's not something that DnS can deal with. Even some Liberator harassment, by the sound of things, is distracting his stalkers. Now he doesn't know the bio army is over to the 4th base.
Yeah, Clem is outmaneuvering DnS massively here. I think he killed maybe one of the observers, or no, actually there was only one observer made, and it's across the map right now for DnS, so maybe he needed that closer to his base to be able to spot the movement. Now zealots are being sent on the other side of the map to harass those SCV lines. The problem with that is that if they get killed, you just fall so far behind in supply, which is what's happening here. It's just not been cost effective. Clem is 70 supply ahead of DnS right now. Look at this supply. He's pressing forward and he's got so much.
Yeah, there is even a couple of whiffed EMPs. DnS was able to keep them to at least some of his storms. It just didn't matter. Clem was going to be able to split from them or simply live through them. He has so many Marauders and nothing was actually killing them despite being on low health. And that's where the supplies really started to differentiate. There it is, the tap out. Clem takes the 3-0. And that is not necessarily surprising. I do